Welcome to Oz by Drone. We're just going to have a moment's silence to commemorate today being Anzac Day. Hello and welcome to Oz by Drone. Today is Anzac Day, and I just wanted to have that moment's silence to let those people know around the world who may be watching us who don't know a little bit of the history of Australia. Today is a very famous day. Anzac stands for the Australian New Zealand Army Corps, or Armed Corps, and today is kind of like our Remembrance Day, if you like. It's a special day for us. So, just have a think about that for those of you who are tuning in from around the world. In the meantime, we've got the Grump in the studio today. Hey, Grumpy.
Hey, how you doing, Greg?
Good. John was going to be here, but unfortunately he had urgent Anzac Day duties himself. He needed to take his daughter to an Anzac Day service. She's a musician, and I think she was playing trumpet for that service somewhere, so that's kind of what was happening there. By the way, apologies that I'm not on screen. My producer is just doing some fun stuff in the background and forgetting.
We go. Okay. Well, for the Americans that, they don't know what Anzac is, similar to our Memorial Day.
Yeah. Anyway, so what's happening for you? What's happening this week?
Well, I've got some good stuff coming up. I got a really great promo from a special, somebody special did a really great promo for my presidential run. And I will be premiering that on my show Monday at 7 Central Time, United States. Okay.
Well, we'll definitely have to check that out. A few other bits of news over here. Sutherland Shire Council still waiting, but, you have to be fair to them. It is an unusual time that we're in, but I'm sure I'll keep following them up. Number 2, Uber. I mentioned this very briefly last week where one of their drivers left some stuff on to my video doorbell that recorded this driver just doing a drop and run, and then later the animals got into it and made a mess everywhere. And Uber decided they were going to punish the victim, me, for reporting the problem. Apparently their terms of service say that you can't video record Uber services, but at the time I didn't order an Uber service. I was just sitting at home, and next thing you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, you get some Uber driver incorrectly dropping something to my door, and me, the victim, reporting it, got punished for reporting that to them. So that was a disappointing thing that I just thought I'd share with you. They've decided that I should not access their app anymore, so I can't call Uber taxis because I let them know about someone reporting stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. That's just stupid. But, it's... do you use Uber?
I do from time to time, but not at the moment, certainly. And it's just frustrating because, you're
doing the right thing, and then they...
I didn't publish anything publicly. I just gave them a copy of a video that I recorded, not because I ordered anything from them, but just because I live here and I've got a security doorbell thing. And anyway, it's a bit annoying, but we'll see how that goes. Next quick topic before we get into the news, copyright. I'm going to mention this a little bit later in the show today. There's a couple of interesting copyright discussions that I do want to talk about. But there is something else very important that I do need to do very, very briefly if I can find this. As well as being Anzac Day, today is my anniversary. And my producer, who's sitting over there, didn't know that I was going to do this. And hopefully she's smiling. And I just want to say it's been 6 years since I had the pleasure of marrying her, and every day since then has been even better.
Well said. Well said. And
I love you.
congratulations. Yeah. Well, you saying that to her, guys. Saying it to her, not to me.
No, not to you.
Let's keep this straight now.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Yeah. Congratulations, you two. Both
And
great
now
people.
it's time for the news. Why did I get Oracle on there? Let's try that again. I'm getting fancier with my audio, but it helps if I do the right graphics to go with it.
There you go.
Okay, so our first news story today, this is a workhorse drone that we've got that we're going to talk about. UPS has partnered with Workhorse Group, Virginia's Centre for Innovative Technology, and DroneUp to complete various tests to see how drones can be used to assist medical professionals in the fight against COVID-19. The tests evaluated the commercial drone industry's ability to step up and produce drones to aid US healthcare system. Let's have a look. Now, Lloyd, help me out here. Workhorse Group, is that a company name that's familiar to you in the US?
No. I just started hearing about this here just recently. I don't know. I have no clue who they are. You know, obviously they're working with UPS, which everybody knows, but no, it's not.
Wait. There we go. We temporarily disconnected. Apologies for that. There was an error that came up in Wirecast there, but we're back on the air. So UPS, everyone knows about that. Just reading about what we've got here in this article, what they tested, the test took place over a 3-day period earlier in the month at St. Paul's College in Virginia and a Brunswick County facility, and they were simulating various delivery conditions just to see that they're safe. I don't know that this is necessarily anything special because at the end of the day, drone delivery is something that we've been reading about week after week after week. But I guess the interesting thing is certainly the integration of the parcel system and the delivery vehicle that they've got there for a drone takeoff platform. That's about the only interesting and new thing that I see there.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these companies are using the COVID-19 as a kind of a launching platform to, test out, test out their theories and stuff.
An excuse for some free marketing, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's move on to our second little bit here at the moment. We're going to talk about sunbathing. And this is the Bather drone. Italian police showed off how they used a drone to help 3 officers track down a lockdown, I don't know this word, scofflaw? Anyway, that's an interesting word I've never heard of before. Have you heard of it?
No. Lockdown SEO.
Anyway, this scofflaw was stunning himself on an otherwise deserted beach. The unidentified beachgoer was caught by the drone flying above the beach in Rimini, with footage seemingly showing no one else for miles. Shirtless and wearing blue pants, he appeared relaxed as the drone filmed 2 officers on quad bikes and a third in a police van driving through the deserted sands to confront him and get him. I don't know.
He was social distancing. There was nobody for miles. I mean, what's the problem? Other than the fact that they were probably ticked off that they didn't get to be out on the beach that day. Either that or they were just extremely bored because nobody's out doing anything illegal. So,
yeah. I
And,
guess so.
just-
But, it just amazes me some of the non-common sense about this current situation we've got around the world. I mean, there was someone who was getting driving lessons with, I don't know if it was their mother or their father or their brother or sister, and all of a sudden they were pulled off the road and Australian police were trying to find them. Thankfully, at least we've got some common sense in Australia where people said, well, this is part of your family unit. You're not interacting with anyone else and you're allowed to be with your family unit. So, they had to withdraw and retract that one. But I don't know. You look at that, and as long as there's social distancing, should law enforcement be using drones to enforce that kind of regulation? It's just a bit of overkill, I think. But moving on from there, we've got our next story right now.
I can't pop the news up yet. I got to reconnect to it, but just going to let you know that you have a couple of super chats in here.
Okay.
One from Wayne King for $20.
Wayne,
Australian,
thank you very, very much. Thank you.
And one from Drone Worship, Mr. Dan himself.
Dan.
And he says, I have his vote, so that's good.
Okay. Grumpy for PM, and if you fail, you can always come over here and run for the next prime ministership over here. You know.
Well, that's why it states down here I'm presidential hopeful or prime minister of Australia hopeful. You know, I will get one of those two jobs.
Moving on to our next story. Now, this one is an abandoned story. You know, we've seen a lot of these abandoned kind of things. And this one is the copyright story. Before we play the video, let me just quickly comment. I wrote to the people who created this video and I got their permission to play the video. And one of the things I do before my show each and every week, I upload as a private upload every video clip that I'm going to be using, just to make sure, because even if I get your permission to use your video, where did you get the music from? Am I allowed to use that? So at least I can use the YouTube algorithm to let me know if there's anything I shouldn't be doing. Make sure I'm not a bad boy. But what was interesting, I've got permission in writing from the head of multimedia from the publication The Guardian. But I think there's something a little shonky with the algorithm. After my test upload, they blocked that video. Now, I could say, well, I'm not going to use that video today, but I'd like to use it anyway and just see what happens. Hopefully, at the end of this live stream today, hopefully it's not going to be blocked, but let's see what happens anyway. Let's play the clip. So this video clip is titled Deserted Sydney, drone footage of Australia's biggest city. Relatively empty in the coronavirus lockdown. The Opera House, ferry terminals, parks and squares, all of the city's most popular spaces have been almost entirely cleared of people. Central Sydney experienced a dramatic drop in workers and shoppers as the government ordered pubs and restaurants to close and businesses asked their staff to work from home as part of the efforts to curb the spread of COVID-19.
This is some awesome video.
Yeah. And again, the source of this original video is The Guardian. And if you go into the description for this video, you'll see a link to The Guardian website in there. As with all of our news stories, each and every week, we do put links in there to make sure you've got an opportunity to check out other content from the people that we feature. Now, I'm just going to quickly say there's another person who's our guest in a little while who disconnected before. He's reconnected now, Dave. It's okay. We'll get you. We'll come back to you.
And we got his sound too.
Okay. Well, you've got the sound. I can't hear it at the moment, so we'll be back to you in a minute, Dave. They've done some very nice editing and mixing of the audio there of the fountain to have that fit in. And these are some of our streets. You can see the Sydney tram on the left there. It's a good mix of drone footage and also some Steadicam footage because, you know, this kind of bit that you've got there couldn't be flown with a drone, but mixing it in. So that's our city for the benefit of everyone else. And again, some good creative editing with tenor sounds there.
definitely an awesome video. Music is
Now,
perfect for it too.
it is. And I've seen a lot of videos of cities closed down. Each and every day, the number of videos while we're looking for news stories that come in showing this city is closed down, that city is closed down, and so on and so on. There's just so many of them. But because it was Sydney, because it was Australia, I thought we absolutely needed to share that with everyone here. Very nice clip. Moving on.
It's working again.
Nightbot is talking to us. Okay, yep, it's working again. Moving on. The next one we've got here is, again, COVID related. And I guess this is the challenge in picking stories this week is that there were just so many stories about COVID, and I didn't know what we could, what else we had to include. There was just so much of it. So this one was actually submitted by one of our viewers through Dronebook. I didn't create the title for it because it was a late submission, but let me tell you, a Melbourne-based drone company is already operating tiny aircraft in Africa that are transporting COVID-19 test kits to remote villages and flying the samples back for testing. Swoop Aero is the name of the company. They're working with the federal government and is in talks with CASA, the Civil Aviation Authority in Australia. And it hopes to get approval to operate in Australia as well by July. I don't know what that's actually going to look like. It sounds interesting, but certainly we've got a number of regulatory challenges in Australia. Is there much in the way of commercial beyond visual line of sight happening in the US to your knowledge yet, Lloyd, or is it still
not to my knowledge? Most of our test kits are being shipped out. They're either being developed at universities and they're being shipped out from there using regular ground transport. There's not that many places that are that secluded, so that they would need a drone. And of course, we've got to deal with the FAA, even though we've managed to get the FDC out of the way so we can, develop some of these meds. But and these test kits, once we got, Federal Drug Administration, FDA, not the FDC, FDA, once we got them out of the way, we were able to move along. But they're not being delivered by drones; they're being delivered by trucks or vehicles. Yeah,
fair enough. Look, it'll be an interesting one to watch to see what happens from CASA. The next story we'll have one more before we go to our guest. Now, this is a Microsoft video. The internet is currently full of videos showing empty streets. This shows Microsoft's campus totally empty while their staff are adapting and performing their duties from their homes. I'll add that music that we had before. Let's do that. Since this one didn't come with any audio, but this one was posted by Microsoft, so they've flown it themselves over their own campus. We previously had some nice...
I was wondering what kind of drone they're using.
Yeah, I don't know, unfortunately. We had previous footage from Apple. There was a guy that flies over Apple regularly, and we've had a look at the one recently over the Tesla construction site, but it's nice to see Microsoft doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on now. We're going to move to our guest, and if I go and, because I'm playing music instead of controlling the graphics, I need to do so many things at once over here. And look at that, title live has just frozen up. I'll do it the easy way. There it is. Christmas is coming. David Christmas. Welcome, David.
Hi, Greg. Hi, everyone.
G'day, Dave. So, Dave, welcome and thanks for joining us today. Tell me, where are you based in Australia? You've obviously got the Aussie accent, but where are you from?
Born and bred Rockhampton originally, but in a little town called Mount Morgan now, which is about 40 kilometres southwest of Rockhampton. That's an old gold mining town. The mine hasn't operated in about 3 years or so. They closed it down again, and they were just doing the tailings and that anyway, trying to get some more gold out of the ground, but they weren't successful too much, I don't think. Yeah, that's about all with the town. Its population's only about 2,500, three at the most.
Yeah. Agent K, you're telling me I need a new PC. Sorry, I don't use a PC. I use a Mac. But that aside, let's get back to our guest. So you've got a drone or two yourself. What aircraft do you have, Dave?
Maverick Pro, DJI Maverick Pro, a cattle quad, which is primarily used for rounding up cattle, although mine hasn't got a camera on it as yet. It's fiberglass body and really motors along when it gets going, and cattle don't particularly like it.
Okay,
and
so it's quite a. What's the weight? What's the weight of that one, if I may ask?
Under 2 kilos, but it'd only be just under 2 kilos, I think.
Okay.
I think the Maverick would have a little bit more weight than what the other one would have.
By the way, I want to share something with you, and this one of our super chats earlier came from one of our regular viewers, and you say something that he said, whatever. Very often, it's a Mavic, not a Maverick. It's just one of my pet peeves. But anyway, what I will do though, Dave, we're going to play a video. This is around Mount Morgan, your town. Let's play that clip and we'll talk over the top.
Okay, that's one of the lookouts overlooking Mount Morgan. There's 2 lookouts.
How many? What's the population of your town there?
About 2,500, 3,000 people, something like that. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
And that's the old gold mine.
So this clip, I edited this together based on some raw footage that you had on your YouTube channel. The footage that you had was originally raw and unedited, but let's have a look at a couple of things. Have a look at the horizon there. What do you see?
Hills and water.
It's a little bit sloped. I'm just going to give you a few little tips and pointers as we look at some of the footage. It's like the drone, the gimbal is not properly aligned, but just a few little tips as we go.
Yeah, I did have a crash with the DJI one some time back, but it's been away and supposedly been repaired, and I've had it back. That was a bushfire that was in the area. We had a few fires at the time, and it's still slightly burning over there, although there weren't any fire trucks or it wasn't an active scene at the time. There's a few regs about flying over active scenes of fire, police, ambulance,
absolutely.
All that sort of thing.
Absolutely, there was just a little bit left.
And that's the water treatment plant for Mount Morgan, and the TV translator is the little tower just behind the water treatment plant. That gives Mount Morgan all its TV, because we're deep in a hole here and we don't get good TV. That's Keppel Sands Coast Guard base, for which I'm a volunteer radio operator.
So what is Keppel Sands, can I ask?
It's a very small coastal town, about an hour and a half's drive from Mount Morgan. And there's a few houses, a caravan park, a pub, a shop. That's about it.
Okay.
This one's up on the hills above Mount Morgan. That's one of the TV towers that are up there.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that's that's the actual Telstra station. And the gates were unlocked and wide open too. So that was quite a shock, actually. They usually aren't unlocked like that.
Yeah.
It's still an active site.
Absolutely. So just a request for anyone that's got some footage. If you've got footage and you haven't edited it, let me know and I can maybe do an edit like that one, put it together, add some music underneath it and feature it on the show at some point in the future. But before I move on, just out of interest, again, another copyright-related comment. The music that I used there came from the Wirecast stock media library. It's the material that I have available for all sorts of purposes. Even though I've got a license to use it, I still got a copyright claim on that one, which again, you dispute by putting in a copy of the license that I've got. It's just frustrating that sometimes the YouTube algorithm seems to be flagging a little bit more than it should. But just thought I'd share that experience with everyone. Again, this may get flagged again today, but what I'm going to do is put a copy of the license in should that happen in a dispute. So before we go, Dave, tell me a little bit more. So it's a coastal town. That's about an hour away. Is that what you were saying?
It's an hour and a half's drive away from Mount Morgan itself. Yeah, I've got to go down through Rockhampton and then down to the coast, to the bay.
I would have absolutely loved to have seen some more coastal footage looking up and down the coast, but perhaps that's the next time you go out flying. You've got a third drone that you mentioned just before we got on air today. What's the other one?
Well, I've got a Parrot drone, which is a real old one, although it's only been flown twice. To my knowledge, and I'll just get it actually very, very quickly.
It's got the racing. It's got the racing stripes on it.
Yeah, and it's got a camera here as well. Yeah. And it's flown with an iPad or a mobile phone. I fly it with an iPad.
So how old is that one? That wouldn't.
Oh, it'd be going back. I'm not sure the age. A friend of mine that runs a drone building service, about 10 kilometres from me, got 3 as part payment for doing a job for someone, and I had a birthday come up in March, and he said, "Here's a Parrot drone for you." So downloaded the app and flew it in his backyard, and yeah, it flew quite well. You've actually got to tilt the iPad if you want the drone to go forward. You've got to tilt the iPad forward for it to go forward, and then to bring it back, you've got to tilt it back the other way, and virtually steer it with the iPad. So it's certainly different. I'm used to a controller. I prefer the controller with the iPad on it for the vision from the camera. With DJI, I do that all the time. I use the iPad for that. But it was quite an experience. And then the cattle quad. And then I've got a really big one, which is about 2 foot square by nearly a foot high. But it's away getting a new camera fitted to it at the moment at the drone doctors.
And what do you use that one for?
Mainly just photography around the place. It's a very big drone. He originally called it his test dummy drone, but yeah, he wanted a new home for it, so I took it off his hands, and it flies quite well. It's pretty stable in the air. I've also flown it down at the Coast Guard base with about a 20-knot wind blowing, and in loiter mode, it just sits there and barely moves at all. So it was quite surprising. But it's a pretty big drone.
We're going to need to get something for that in the near future, get some footage from you. But before we do anything else...
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to play Stop the Yank.
Okay, that's right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have some fun with our co-host today who had no idea this was coming. Yes, Lloyd, we're doing it again.
All right.
And in fact, our guest didn't know it was coming either. So I've left you both totally unaware. This one, I don't know even if our guest will pick this one today, but you're an Aussie, and here's what I want to do. The other day, before Ken's show, he was sharing some music of what he was going to do on his show. You know how he sings and does all of that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, he calls up on Skype, and the next thing you know, he's serenading me and my wife. Go figure. But here's what we're going to do. I played a song back to Ken to see if he could pick it, and it was an Australian song. It's a fairly famous Australian song, and I don't know. Let's see if either of you can guess the name of the song based on the lyrics. And no Googling, no cheating. And Lloyd, I'll get you to also monitor the chat, and if someone else picks it, I'll be interested to see anyway. No cheating in the chat either. The lyrics go something like this. The late George Woolnough worked on High Street and lived on Manners. 52 years he sat on his veranda, made his saddles. And if you had questions about sheep or flowers or doves, you just ask the saddler. He lived without sin. They're building a library for him.
I have no clue on that one.
Nothing, David?
No, nothing from here either, I'm afraid.
Okay. Thunderbird 6 says Tennefield Saddler.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Thunderbird. Well done. It's an Aussie song, and it's one of my favourites. It's one of those things that, for me, and personal connection with my wife, as she came over here to Australia, it wasn't her country of birth, but she came here, and I'm a muso as well. I play piano, and this is one of those songs that kind of got under her skin. She sings it when I play the piano at home, and we enjoy it together.
Cool.
So that's our Stump the Yank for today. It was just a little bit of fun. Dave, thanks for being our guest today, and stick around in the background. Say hello to some of the people in the chat room, and do get some footage of some of your other aircraft. That large one you mentioned, get some footage of that in action. We'd love to have a look at that another time.
Yeah, well, I've got 90% of my footage is on my drone, Mount Morgan Drone Videos page on Facebook. I put a little bit on YouTube. I don't put anywhere near as much on YouTube as what I do on my Facebook site, Mount Morgan Drone Videos. But
okay,
I've got to do more.
Paste that link in the chat and get some people to go and check that out, and that would be really cool. But thank you for being with us today, and we'll talk to you in the near future.
Yep, for sure. My pleasure.
Okay.
And see you later, Lloyd, as well.
Okay, we'll see you. It's good meeting you.
Okay. Now, moving on, we've got a few more news stories to get through. Let me get myself back in the swing of things. The next one is a whale of a story. Sorry. This one, a new behavioural study has been conducted in and around New Zealand showing that the feeding at ocean's surface plays a big role in these New Zealand blue waves' foraging strategy by allowing them to optimise their energy use. In the population of whales in New Zealand, they foraged more in areas where their prey was dense and shallow, their dives were relatively short, and they were feeding more at the surface, which for them required more energy. Researchers have commented that the drone footage fills a large gap in their understanding of surface feeding. Certainly some beautiful footage here, and you can see the krill that they're just going, and there we go.
Yeah, that is awesome.
This was actually Oregon State University researchers that were participating in this study as well. The blue whales that they're studying hold the title of being the largest mammals on Earth, reaching 70 to 90 feet long and weighing 200 to 300,000 pounds.
Wow.
Just the heart of these animals alone, it says in the article I'm reading here, is the size of a small car.
There's some cool footage.
Absolutely. And it's good to see, some US researchers coming and visiting, not quite down under. The fact that you've gone to New Zealand, maybe you could have found somewhere in Australia, but, we won't hold it against you. It's still the part of the planet where the water goes the other way. Moving on from that, should the US be concerned about drone-enforced lockdowns? DJI have been handing out drones for free to law enforcement agencies. It is not known if the drones have been donated or if they're just on loan, but questions are being asked about the program.
Law enforcement enforcement agencies across the country are using drones as a tool to try and enforce social distancing.
But there are now escalating concerns of spying due to a link between the drone maker and the Chinese government. Are those concerns justified?
Drone expert and former military intelligence analyst Brett Velikovich joins us live to help answer that question. Hey, Brett, good morning. Is this a paranoid fear, or is this a real thing?
Well, I think the answer to the question is that we just don't know if this is taking place. I don't personally know of any hard evidence that we can point to say that's taking place. But the fact is, this is a very sensitive subject, especially in the wake of COVID-19, when technologies like this are starting to be relied upon in new ways and more than ever. But on one hand, you've got this situation where you've got this incredible drone technology made by this company that is without a doubt saving lives. There are countless videos and stories online that you can point to where this drone technology is rescuing stranded hikers or saving missing children. But on the other hand, you have this firm that, because of its sheer size and market share with drone technology around the world, has to have some sort of oversight from the Chinese government. And in the end, the only people that can really decide whether or not they should
So I'm just going to
are going to be the public.
Cut the audio there and we'll talk over the top of that just for a minute. So thoughts and comments, Lloyd. You've heard about the previous bans by different departments within the US of their drones. What do you think?
Well, I was actually surprised when I started hearing this. It had been popping up in several different places around, and apparently they seem to have some real concerns about they're sending information back on our infrastructure and stuff like that to China. But I haven't delved into it too deep, but yeah, there's some real concerns about a lot of people in law enforcement and other agencies right now.
Yeah. Just my own personal perspective, because I did some personal research on this when it was not known originally. So I went and intercepted and sniffed the traffic coming out of a DJI drone and had a look at it, reverse engineered it, work out what they were doing. And historically, they were not very smart. If I could give you an analogy comparing it to something that's current and topical, everyone's heard about Zoom and security issues with Zoom. And one of the things that they said, well, it's going and sending information to Facebook, even if you don't use Facebook to log into Zoom. And similar things were happening with the DJI drone. It was sending information and tracking and usage information to various companies with the earlier version of the app. I don't personally think they were deliberately doing that. I think just like Zoom, it was a case of they said, well, we're going to use this library to do this function and that one to do that function and so on. And as a result of those decisions, some bad things happened. But if you have a look at it now, I haven't done any recent research, and I think I'd need to spend a fair bit of time and effort to go and do all that again. It's not a quick and easy thing to have a look at. But last time I did look, certainly they'd cut down a lot of the traffic. The one thing that we, as drone pilots, need to be mindful of, though, if you click the button to go and synchronize your missions, it will upload that to the DJI cloud. If you click upload a photo to their Sky, I can't remember the name of the service, is it SkyPixel, I think, or something like that? It'll send it offshore to wherever their servers are. But if you don't do that, you don't have to. It's not compulsory. But anyway, there's just my opinion on some of that as well. Should we be concerned about it? Turn off mobile data on your phone or your iPad. That'll fix it.
Yeah. And it's, obviously, and I'm reading in the chat, and stuff, and it's one of those, it's a two-edged sword, do we be paranoid, as several are saying, or do we not? I mean, right now, with COVID-19 and the way the Chinese have dealt with that so far, I'm not real trusting of anything from China, but, that's me.
Yeah, let me just jump down to the chat for a minute. So have a read myself. People are too damn paranoid. Law enforcement needs to follow the same rules as us. You know what I would love? I would love it, and I've said this many times, if all of the interfaces out of the drone were created via published APIs. And instead of talking to DJI, there's only one call to DJI. It'll do an initial, I am in this country, not my position, but I am in the United States of America. Give me the link so that I can talk to the FAA for everything else. And then instead of talking to DJI for any of its blocks or whatever it is that they're doing, the FAA then administers and delegates things beyond that at that layer. It shouldn't be a third-party company with this kind of technology, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, let's move on from that. We got a couple more to go. That was our DJI story. Next in the list, we've got Citadel Artificial Intelligence, and Citadel Defense have launched a new machine learning software system to detect and defeat unmanned aerial systems. This is their Titan AI machine learning, and it has an adaptive electronic countermeasures system to address a whole heap of operations for counter-UAS missions. What's interesting here is that the software, this new AI software, is going to be rolled out to more than 100 Titan systems in the field, existing systems. The architecture that they've got ensures that the system can be integrated into a layered defense system. So in the military, for example, if you've got other countermeasures, you can link it into that and it can have that information of where the drone is. Titan offers its own countermeasure capabilities, and it is the first, as we said, to apply AI and machine learning to the counter-UAS spectrum. But my reason for bringing this story to the front line is it's a bit almost like Skynet. What was the name of that movie? Terminator.
Terminator, yeah.
It's a bit like Skynet. When is AI not the right thing to do? So if you've got countermeasures which are built into this system, or potentially external countermeasures which can be linked in as part of a layered defense, the next thing you know, someone's going and flying a drone where they shouldn't be doing it, and you've got machines automatically triggering off a response that could have lethal consequences. A drone being shot out of the sky, hypothetically, we don't know what those countermeasures are, and there's no restrictions for what they could be potentially for military. But just imagine shooting a drone out of the sky. What's underneath it at the time? It's a lot of questions there.
Yeah, and I think these countermeasures, they're not being shot on they're not going to be using these countermeasures in all likelihood on the streets of San Francisco to,
Agreed.
But
agreed with you 100%. Agreed with you 100%. But here's where I'm thinking: countermeasures and AI detection should never have a direct non-human interface.
Well, I agree.
The exception that I'd give to that is when you are in a state of declared war in a particular location from a military perspective, or if it's over water, for example, if it's naval, then I could agree with it 100%. But countermeasures, automated countermeasures,
I got a problem of AI in general should only be, we've got a lot of exceptions of people here in the United States that I think it'd be better to have artificial intelligence than them doing the work. If you get what I mean.
I get what you mean, but
I mean, yeah, no, I agree. Countermeasures, they should leave it up to the trained people to do it. But in the, if they're under attack, if you're in a firefight somewhere and you're in the middle of something and, you've got, you're looking and trying to do 16 different things at once when you're in a battle zone and, or in a, in the middle of a firefight. And sometimes, and here comes the 16th, here comes the 16th thing coming at you and you don't know what to do. And that's when, okay, this one can grab that. But in the general everyday use, I don't think there's a use for that, like I said, except for certain people. probably in the, but they need artificial intelligence to do everything, not just shoot down drones.
But speaking of which, Lloyd, just a quick question for you. What's your natural hair color before you started encountering old-timers disease?
It was brown.
Really? I thought I saw a photo of you when you were much younger, and I saw a blonde version, and then later on you changed your hair color to a dark color because you needed some artificial intelligence.
No, you did see some. No, Judy did one blonde in that one, was she? No, I didn't. Yeah, no, it's always been brown, which means I'm full of it. You know, like my eyes. But anyways.
So I need you to do me a favor and entertain us for a couple of moments. My producer needed to step out for a brief moment, and I can't play the next video while she's not there.
Okay. Well,
there we are. She's back.
She's back. Okay.
She had an urgent call.
I understand.
Anyway, moving on, our next story is Zipline. We've all heard about the Zipline stuff before for different types of medical deliveries, and they've stepped up in Africa and making the difference in the fight against COVID using their capabilities now in Ghana. In this video, after a sample is collected in the field, the test swabs are packaged with ice in specially designed biosafe containers fitted with a parachute and placed into the drones. The payload is then released at designated drop zones where attendants alerted to their pending arrival via SMS are waiting to collect them. The whole round-trip journey, which could take up to a day by car, takes under 30 minutes when using this equipment.
Sample volume has increased, and now we are getting samples from all over Ghana. We're very grateful that the Zipline drone service is now in operation. After a couple of test drops, we've actually received the first sample today from Suhum. We're looking forward to receiving samples from wherever Zipline can get the drone to pick up and deliver to us, because this will speed up and facilitate the sample transport and, of course, the return of the results back to the facilities where the results are needed.
Really good use of drone technology, and Zipline's been doing great things, certainly with their
they have
VTOL aircraft there.
Yeah. Every time I see that, I'm impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got one more clip today. We're finishing a little bit earlier, and I might invite a couple of people. Can you paste the rendezvous link just if anyone wants to come in and say hi, since we're a little bit ahead of time today? But we've got one more story. This one, let me play the title. There we go. While people have been self-isolating and practicing social distancing, trips to the mall are clearly not what they used to be. But for those feeling a little bit nostalgic for their favourite hangouts, Nakheel Mall, located in Dubai's Palm Jumeirah, has partnered with pro drone pilots Ryan and Vladimir to release a one-off video. Let's check it out. Some really good flying there. And Lloyd?
Oh.
Some really good flying there. Sorry, we're doing the addition of our extra guest in the background over here. What do you think of that one?
I was busy. I wasn't paying attention, Greg. I apologize. I was looking at because Thunderbird 6, or was it Thunderbird? Yeah, it was T-Bird that said it. he put something in the chat, and I was obviously had to look it up. So, in reference to something I said earlier, so I apologize. I completely zoned out.
What did Thunderbird 6 say? Oh, okay. Let's move on.
So I was looking up the lyrics, and I was reading him about the time all that was going on. So,
okay, let's move on. We've got someone, Wayne, who thank you for your super chat earlier, but let's bring Wayne over here. G'day, Wayne. Hello.
I hear him
Hello,
just fine.
Wayne. My producer's doing
back there somewhere.
There we go. We've got you now. As long as you've got your YouTube turned off, we should be okay. How you doing, Wayne?
Very good, thank you.
So I see you dressed up in your military accoutrements there.
Yes, actually my wife woke me up at 5:30 this morning, and she got my uniform out and my medals, and we went out the front of the driveway with a little candle. We put the radio on where they played The Last Post, and our neighbours, a couple of neighbours across the road, did the same thing. They parked their car out the front and stood in front of their car at 6 o'clock while they played The Last Post.
Yeah. For the benefits of those watching from outside Australia, as I mentioned before, today is Anzac Day, a very special day for us. And it's a day when we have a dawn service where people get together and remember. And we also have an Anzac Day march through... Beep, beep, beep. We have an Anzac Day march through the centre of Sydney, but obviously with social distancing and some of our more elderly people, we can't have them getting together and for that kind of thing with the risk to their health. But we've had instead a virtual Anzac Day. Tell me a bit more about your personal military background and experience and your family, Wayne.
I did over 25 years in the Royal Australian Air Force. I served on a number of different bases. I thought I'd wear my hat today just for Lloyd's benefit. Lloyd, do you think you've still got one of your old hats that you used to wear?
I don't think I do, or I'd put it on right now, but I've got my uniform, but I don't know where my hat went to.
I tried to put my uniform on this morning, but I had a bit of trouble getting the jacket to go round.
There's no way I could get... When I was in the Air Force, my uniform, I wore it. I had a 29-inch waist. I haven't seen that in probably about over 29 years, at least, probably closer to 40 years now. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd just say that there was a little bit of a gap between what it was 20 odd years ago and what it is today.
Yeah.
You might notice that the little sprig of you might notice that over here I've got a little sprig of rosemary. That has quite a significance because that was a plant that was growing at Gallipoli when the troops landed there.
Yeah. And
so we wear that as a sign of respect.
Right, yeah. A lot of the Americans don't know that this is in reference to the Battle of Gallipoli, and that's why this day is, which was the absolute deadliest day for the Australian New Zealand Army Corps. Probably one of the most brutal battles that was ever fought. And if you got any of the Americans that don't know anything about it, go watch the movie Gallipoli. That just gives you a smidgen of, and here you guys were trying to help out the Palms because they were losing the war.
Yes.
Look, let's just put it simply, the Poms are beyond help at the best of time, but anyway.
Just a little thing to do with drone.
Yeah.
I was reviewing a bit of footage that I was just dumping onto my computer yesterday, and I just had it running in the background, and I noticed that there was a thunderstorm I was filming in the distance, and there was a lightning strike near the end. But what I didn't notice till when I went back to it was there was another lightning strike going right over the top of my head.
Okay. So lightning struck twice then.
Well, it was at the same time. One was hitting the hill, and there was another one going from the cloud directly above my head. I couldn't believe it.
Okay. Well, definitely good that you weren't doing too much else out there at the time.
Yes. Well, the
Anyway,
storm was
Wayne,
off in the distance, so I was quite surprised.
yeah, I do want to just thank you again for your contribution to the channel. Those people who do super chat, and apologies if I missed any others. Let me have a quick scroll back. Artco Drone Solutions. Greg, sing us the Kookaburra song. What's the Kookaburra song?
I'm trying to think what we Americans. I think I know which song it is, but I can't remember the name of it.
I don't know the Kookaburra song. And Ready, Set, Drone. Thank you very much. $20. Grumpy for president in 2020. Metro Drones, happy Friday. Metro Drones, happy Friday, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much for your super chats and contributing to the channel. It's very much appreciated. I've got to Google that now. What is the Kookaburra song?
Yeah, you have to Google it.
It's not that.
We got some advertising there. Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree. It's, I think, who was that? Yeah, I haven't checked it for copyright, so I'm not going to play it now. So I don't know it, but thanks for the request anyway, Art. Anyway, we've got to the end of, almost to the end of our hour. We're finishing a couple of minutes early. If you would like to come and chat, we've got myself, we've got Lloyd, we've still got David Christmas over in the background in Rendezvous there. We've got Wayne over there in the background. And we're going to ask you to come and say hello. Come and join in. The Rendezvous link that Grumpy has just posted, it's the same stuff we use to get our guests into the show. But after the show's over and I've shut off the streams, you're welcome to come in and chat and say hi. If you've got some video that you would like to share with us, please do send it in. It doesn't have to be edited. As you saw, the stuff that I put together today for David, it wasn't edited when I got it. And put it together, edited, put some nice music underneath it, send it to upload@gregkuhnert.com. If you got anything that you would like to do with social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Mixer, Periscope, you name it, we're there. We're multi-broadcasting right now to all those different places. Do follow us on those platforms. If you've got anything you'd like to send to our postal address, the address is 5/127 Princess Highway, Sylvania, New South Wales 22224. And that's about all we got time for. I'm just going to look at the last question. What is that clear drone that he had? I assume they're talking to Dave there. Dave, you want to come back on for a second? Let's put your mic back up. Are you there? Hang on. We're trying to get you. David, is your audio up?
Yeah, I can hear David.
You can hear David, but we can't because we put Wayne in, that's why. So my producer's going and doing the magic. There we are. You there, David?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, what is that clear drone someone was asking?
That is the cattle quad drone. That's the one that is quite often used in central Queensland for chasing cattle. And it usually has a camera on it. This one doesn't have a camera on it as yet. Carbon fibre blades and everything is clear. So you can see the whole insides, everything.
Okay.
There's also an orange version of it as well, but that's the cattle quad drone.
Okay. Look, thank you for sharing that. And again, if anyone has any other questions, come in and join us after the show. Someone's saying, am I on TikTok? No, I'm not. Thankfully. My wife TikToked me the other day. Anyway, I'm not going to say any more. Never heard of that song either, Agent K. Anything else? No, that'll do us for today. It's been good having you all here. Hit the like button on the way out. Thanks for being part of the show. That's all. See you next week. Oh, one last thing. I nearly forgot. Next week is the first Saturday for me, or Friday for those in the other half of the globe, of the month. And it's time for Ready, Set, Drone next week. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to move my show to a different time that's going to be earlier in the day just for next week. And we're going to do that remote fly-in thing again, where people all around the world can come in and be part of the show. And your drone live is going to come in and be part of the show. We won't have the normal news stuff. It's just going to be inviting you all to be part of the show and have some fun next week. So please join our Discord. Make sure you have a chat, and we can tell you about how to do that later. Any other questions? See you after the show in the chat, and have a great week. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Lloyd.